saying there are very few problems showing up won't solve really came about because I physically made sure very early on in the businesses that I ran that I was present. And I don't mean present in a philosophical way, I mean actually present, right? So I would turn up to every networking event that happened. I made sure I was there at every meeting, client or internally. You know, I made sure that if people wanted to catch up for coffee or a drink and just to, you know, relationship build, I would do that. I literally showed up in so many different places, it was ridiculous, right? And then when I ran out of places to show up physically, I then showed up virtually online, right? So I showed up on YouTube, I showed up across blogs, I showed up across business and social networks. I showed up, and what I learned was that it solved problems in a number of different ways. One, the more you show up, the more people you can meet and engage with, the more relationships you can build. And it builds a kind of a mastermind effect, in so much that if you build up a network of really great contacts, it means that you have a much wider resource to access when you have problems and challenges, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is that in meeting up with lots of people, learning their stories, their challenges, how they overcame those problems, it means that now adds to your database of problem-solving solutions, right? So when you come across a problem, you can think, you know, I met this accountant or this architect or this .com guy or this, you know, fashion designer or whatever, and they had a similar problem and they used this piece of software, or they looked at things in this way, or, you know, they used this process or this model to approach this problem, right? So showing up in that regard, in a literal sense, you know, looking back on it now, it enabled me in a way that I didn't understand at the time, but I made sure that I was open. I was open to networking. I was open to meeting people, and in retrospect, it's been great. It's built up such a wide knowledge base, both internally and within my network, that it's something that I can now leverage, not just for me, but for peers of mine. So that's great in itself. But also showing up means that when you are problem solving, if you show up in the more philosophical sense, i.e. you are completely engaged and wrapped around the issue, then you have more chance of being able to tap into some of the answers that you probably already have consciously or subconsciously, and being able to pull those out of you to address the problem, right? Because if you're not actually showing up in this, you know, in this more philosophical or spiritual sense, then it means that you're not really there, right? That you're somewhere else, you're disconnected, that you're thinking about the football game tonight, you're thinking about the club you're going to at the weekend, or you're thinking about the argument you had with your friend the other day. You're not really there, right? So it's important to engage. It's important to, when you are faced with a problem, not to bury your head in the sand or to immediately think this is going to go wrong, but to approach the problem in a very objective sense, right? A very objective sense, and look at it, you know, totally. Look at every aspect of it. Show up and be there, right? And treat it like it's that it's a problem with less consequence than you have expected, because generally speaking, we will over exaggerate naturally, just from a knee-jerk, how bad this thing can be. It oftentimes isn't. So what that happens is that increases our stress levels, which reduces our ability to effectively problem solve, right? But by showing up in that, you know, more philosophical sense, it means that you can be a lot more objective and therefore be a much better problem solver. And let's face it, in business, we need to problem solve probably more than we expect.